Hey guys, welcome back to Coin Knowledge. So today we're going to be talking about the markets because obviously you can see on screen Bitcoin is literally like 1% away from breaking its previous all-time highs that we saw earlier in the cycle, earlier in 2024, which is absolutely insane, especially going into an election. It is pretty crazy, so I'm going to give you guys my opinion here and what I'm looking at currently in the market because I do think that we do still have a insane altcoin season in front of us. It's extremely easy right now. Obviously, we've seen altcoins kind of get beat up over the last several months since earlier, Q1 of 2024. And, it's easy to kind of give up hope actually, but, now we can see that Bitcoin, again, people are starting to get a little bit more euphoric, on the timeline. It's easy whenever the Bitcoin, is pumping to get a little bit more bullish, and then whenever it dumps a little bit, even if it's only a couple percent, everyone gets bearish immediately and says it's all over. Well, again, by the end of the video, I'll give you guys exactly what I'm looking at, some catalysts in the gaming sector that I think is coming up here soon. And as always, guys, if you guys get value out of content like this, or if you learn anything on the channel, if you guys consider subscribing to the channel and liking the videos, your support means everything. Now, if we look at Bitcoin, obviously when we look down at Bitcoin and see the all-time high, it was put in 8 months ago, right before the halving. Obviously we were there, we were covering it, and it was $73,750. Now, earlier today, again, same day, I'm recording this yesterday by the time you guys seeing it. So today, Tuesday, the 29th of October, Bitcoin got within less than $200 of breaking its previous all-time highs. Now, I do think we're going to break all-time highs before the election because the election is happening here next Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, November 5th, for the U.S. elections, between Harris and Trump. Now, wherever you stand there, that's on you. But I do think, going into an election, we can definitely see, the markets kind of pump as we did see in 2020. When we take a look at the 2020 election, if we break it down here a little bit, we can take a look at 2020. So we go, let me see if I can find October. So October, obviously, towards the end of October, we started October back, in 2020 at around 11,000. And then as we closed out October, again, it was a little bit closer to that 15K mark. So obviously a 50% move to the upside back, during the, Trump-Biden election in 2020. Pretty insane. So I do think we're going to see similarities, play out here leading into this next election. And, who knows? 80K I think is totally on the table, either by the end of next week, depending on who, ends up winning. Obviously, one side is a little bit more pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin than the other. So, again, wherever your stance is there, that's totally on you. I'm not going to get into that here. It's not the time or place or, platform. But I do think that there is a chance, for one party to win, and if that is the case, I think obviously we're going to see a little bit more of an immediate pump, and not, who knows if that's going to be sustainable or not in the short term. But either way, no matter who wins, Trump or Harris, I think that we're still, due for an altcoin season. I don't think it's going to change whether, which side wins. But obviously, we look across the markets, we can see that Bitcoin's doing quite well, but, a lot of the other altcoins are kind of lagging. Well, it's because, obviously, we know that when Bitcoin moves, it does take a little bit for the rest of the altcoins to move behind it. And, Bitcoin having an aggressive move here, I do think we're going to see altcoins kind of start to follow a little bit behind it, as they are a little stagnant right now. But I do think that this is not going to be, obviously, the full-on altcoin season or the parabolic move. I still think we are nowhere near what the cycle has to offer for us this time. I still think we're going to see the blow off top personally next year. So I do, I've been saying it that I think Q4 of this year is going to be very, very bullish, especially as, again, obviously we're going into November, into the elections. Obviously a lot of hype there. Now, a couple trades I want to point out. So again, I think that 80K Bitcoin could totally be on the cards by the end of next week. Totally could, leading into an election. I definitely think that there's definitely room there. And who knows, if Trump runs, maybe 100K by the end of the year. But again, that's really throwing that out there. I'm just putting it out there. But I do think 80K is definitely on the cards here. Now, when we see Bitcoin hit 80K, and I mean, if you think about it, that's still without, quote unquote, retail or new investors entering the space. We're not full on euphoria. Again, guys, this cycle is going to get crazy. Altcoin season is coming. Be ready for it. Now, when we take a look at the crypto markets, again, nothing is really catching up to Bitcoin right now. We still see Bitcoin dominance is still hovering around, that 58, 60%. Now, we've been saying here for a little bit that personally, I think that the Bitcoin dominance is going to top out around that 60%. And what that means is that obviously a lot of people are mainly in Bitcoin. Now, once we see that kind of top out at 60%, roughly around there, then we see the transition, as Bitcoin dominance begins to drop, we'll see the transition from people holding, Bitcoin to liquidity flowing into altcoins. And then it happens, the waterfall effect of people will go into the top 10, top 50, top 100, then mid cap, low caps, micro caps, and then onwards. And we'll keep you updated, as we do here on the channel. But either way, when we're looking across the markets, we can see that a couple of hot sectors, obviously, memes, they're not going anywhere. AI and gaming and RWA and DPIN. Now we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the gaming sector because I do think out of all the, the narratives to pump, maybe one of the next couple narratives to pump, I do think it's going to be either AI or gaming. Obviously, memes are a narrative you can't ignore, and they're going to do well throughout the cycle. Now, this is not a meme channel. We don't really necessarily talk about memes. Not saying they're not going to perform, but that's just not what I like to personally focus on. So, having said that, one that I'm looking at strongly is Avalanche. I think Avalanche is still undervalued, especially when you compare it to stuff like Solana. It's kind of a catch-up trade. It's done well. We were telling you guys about the bear market that Avalanche at like around $10 was a steal. And we saw Avalanche get to about $60 here recently, and not even get that far off from its previous all-time highs. So, to me, I think Avalanche, everything they have going on with the gaming sector, is stuff like Bloodloop, Off the Grid, Shrapnel, MapleStory, Playable Games, even Seed World's going to be launching their L1 on Avalanche with their nodes, or their subnets. It's, they have a lot going on. One is a chain, but also I think they're really going to solidify themselves as one of the top gaming chains, hands down, with everything they have going on. So I think Avalanche, even at a, $10, $11 billion market cap, I still think Avalanche has room to grow this cycle. Now, obviously, something like this is not going to be a, 20 to 100x call, but I do think Avalanche is going to, definitely take out its previous all-time highs. And when we look at market cap, it got to about a 30 billion, and earlier in the cycle, it got to a 20 billion. I can definitely see Avalanche, even doubling its previous all-time highs as far as market cap goes, and that might be ultra bullish, but I think that they definitely have a lot cooking for them. So Avalanche is one that I'm looking at currently right now. And when we look at the gaming sector, we've been saying this for a while. The next big catalyst to come out, I do think, is going to be the Guns token from Off the Grid. For Gunzilla, I think that when the Guns token launches, I do fully expect it to be over $1 billion in FDV, fully diluted value, whenever it does come to the market. But I do think that's going to put a huge, liquidity injection. Obviously, nobody really quite knows yet. There's going to be a huge airdrop by playing the game with the testnet tokens, if we're going to do anything there, or if there's going to be, the NFTs, how valuable those are going to be. But again, that's all the kind of stuff to iron out in a separate video. But I do think that is going to be probably, without a doubt, the next major, token launch. Obviously, we have stuff launching here soon. We'll give you a microcap that's launching actually today at the time of watching this video at the end of the video, so stick around. But when we take a look at Off the Grid, Call of Duty just launched, Black Ops 6 right now. It's, so that's kind of the yearly title there. We saw some numbers kind of drop off. People transition from Off the Grid to Black Ops. I don't think it's anything to worry about. Black Ops is obviously a staple. People are going to play the game, but a lot of people are still playing Off the Grid. And you got to remember, the game is in early access. It's not a full release game, so that is always something to take a note of. So they're not going to do a huge marketing push right now because the game is not in full release. So personally, I'm still playing Off the Grid. I'm still trying to get as many skins as I can. Kind of trying to use up my testnet Guns tokens, within the game before I lose them, because I think that is what's going to be happening here soon. But either way, a couple things I'm looking at. I'm going to go through the first couple ones a little bit quicker because, again, a lot of these tokens are ones that we talk about on the channel because, again, guys, when you have the conviction, not a whole lot changes. Obviously, there's been newer tokens we've covered on the channel in separate videos, and I've kept you guys updated. But really, I'm looking at the gaming sector specifically in this video because I do think with, Off the Grid, full launch around the corner, with their mainnet launching, nobody knows, it could be Q1 that Gunzilla's, Guns token launches. It could be this year. Nobody really knows for sure. As soon as I find out, I'll make a video and let you guys know, but I don't know. I don't think anyone else does personally. But a couple things, we can look at Beam. Obviously Beam long-term under $1 billion in market cap is pretty undervalued. I do think, they have a lot of hype behind them, and we already saw them get to, over $2.2 billion in market cap. Again, earlier this cycle, running up from about 300 million. So I do think Beam is sitting, pretty undervalued here. Obviously the big, Merit Circle subnet underneath Avalanche. Ronin, to me, Ronin is definitely a sleeping giant. I've been saying a lot of this for a long time. I think Ronin definitely is a sleeping giant right now. They do have a microcap token that I'm going to cover probably in a future video. The ticker is MGT, I believe. It's like Pixelvorce or something like that. Again, I have a video on that coming here soon, but it's at a super low market cap. If you guys want to go look that up, you can look it up on CoinGecko. I think it's MGT, I want to say, so a little spoiler there, but that is coming. So if you're looking for a degen play on Ronin, but obviously a lot of this, guys, cannot be, disputed. Ronin does have, the user base. They do have the games. They're coming out, obviously, with more games to their platform. Again, we talked about all these throughout the bear market, so I don't want to beat a dead horse there, but we already saw Ronin get to, well over $1 billion earlier in the cycle. And when we look at stuff like Beam, Avalanche, even Immutable X, I think Ronin, obviously out of the bigger titans in the space as far as gaming chains and infrastructure goes in the gaming space, Ronin's definitely the one that's, in my opinion, one of the most undervalued in that mid to upper cap plays for the gaming sector. So I think at $500 million, I definitely think Ronin is going to, $3 to $5 billion this cycle for a market cap, but nobody knows. So whenever I say these predictions, please understand that nothing is financial advice. I have no idea. I mean, nobody knows. That's just, I know I always say that and everyone says that, but it has to be said. Nobody has a single clue. So be aware of that. But either way, Ronin, I'm very bullish on. Echelon Prime, I think they have their Colony game coming out here soon, which is going to be on Solana. And it has, obviously, the AI gaming crossover, which if we go back to the hot sectors right now, gaming and AI. So obviously these next two projects, merge those two together, which I think is a match made in heaven, obviously. We look at Echelon Prime. This is one that came out over the summer with their trading card game, and it got a lot of hype, and, it ran all the way from, like, sub $3 all the way up to almost $30. I think it actually did touch, it got to $28. So when you're looking at it at $8 here, it's actually showing a lot of strength over the summer and over the last, 6 to 9 months. I think Echelon Prime is definitely one that is probably going to go to $1 billion, probably. And again, guys, these might be conservative. These might be bullish, statements. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of all these projects, or if there's other ones that obviously I can't include them all that I missed. Let me know and I can make a video on them or give you my opinion and try to answer all you guys' comments in the comments below, and I appreciate them. So we look at Echelon Prime. Obviously, they have the base narrative going for them for their trading card game, their token. They're on Coinbase. They have all the major exchange listings. They have Colony coming, the AI game, and I think that one's going to be on Solana too. They also have another token coming, I think the Prompt token as well, in like the AI space. So a lot going on with Echelon Prime and the Echelon Prime Foundation. So pretty bullish there. Carrot, my pet hooligan. You guys know how bullish I am on Carrot. That is not something hidden at all. It showed pretty good strength today, getting from like 49 cents all the way up to like 56 cents. Obviously with Bitcoin kind of running a little bit, but this is another one that I was telling you guys. Obviously the unlock did come, at the beginning of this month, but I was also letting you guys know that, I thought, leading up to the unlock, there was going to be, a lot of sell pressure leading up to the unlock, and then when the actual unlock happened, not a whole lot, which is exactly what happened. Leading up to the unlock, it was kind of dipping a little bit. Unlock happened, shot up to 60 cents, and it's kind of just been hovering around the 50 to 60 cent range. So, I think if you've been waiting for a position on Carrot, if you were waiting for that first unlock to happen, I don't know if we're going to get, much lower. I don't think we're going to go beat its previous lows of like the mid 30 cents or mid 20 cents. So, again, that's just my opinion. But long term, I am extremely bullish on Carrot. And we look at the unlocks. I've told you guys in the past, unlocks aren't even that bad. I mean, they really are not that major of unlocks when you actually go into their vesting schedule. And you can find it on stuff like Crypto Rank. It's very easily. We've covered it in other videos here. So, and they also obviously they touch on AI, gaming. They have My Pet Hooligan, which is one of the top tier games right alongside Off the Grid, in my opinion, for the gaming sector. So I still think Carrot is definitely undervalued, especially at a 50 cent level. I definitely think this thing has room to run. Now, the next two are actually tied together. Now, Seedify Fund, if you're looking for launch pads, because obviously, throughout the summertime, launches haven't been hot because the market really hasn't been hot. But when we saw the markets turn around earlier in the cycle, about a year ago, we saw Seedify go from, I think it was like even around 50 cents, skyrocket all the way up to over $5.50. So I think Seedify is going to make a big comeback, obviously in a big way when gaming runs, when the market turns around. because everyone wants to get into launch pads because that's how you get in early to these launches. They can do extremely well in in the right market conditions in an actual altcoin season. So I think CeDeFi is definitely going to make a huge comeback. Where it's going to go, I don't know exactly, but I think it is going to crush its previous all-time high. Last cycle it got to like a $350 million market cap, and it's pretty much already done that this cycle. So yeah, it's already pretty much gotten to its previous all-time highs as far as market cap goes. And I don't think it's crazy to think that they're going to get back to that later in the cycle. So CeDeFi fun. If you're looking for a launch pad, it's hard to beat. Obviously, the more the price goes up, the more expensive it gets, to get a certain amount of tokens to stake to get into those allocation rounds. But again, that's a whole other topic and video. But now what I mean by they're tied together, Seed World is actually, again, from the same founder and team of CeDeFi. Now, one thing about Seed World, now obviously when I made the video, I think last week when it launched, I told you guys it was a new token, that it could go down, it could go up, but that I did think it was going to have a similar run. Like a lot of people have said, like Xborg, because they launched only on DEXs. They launched across 5 chains, but what I think about Seed World, and again, I broke it down in that video as well, so if you want to learn what Seed World is all about and my full thoughts, you can find it. I think it was the most recent video right behind this one on the channel if you're interested. But I do think Seed World, when we're comparing it to stuff like Sandbox, Decentraland, other kind of open world sandbox style, no pun intended, like metaverse kind of, plays in the gaming sector. Think about it. Those got to like $5 to $8 billion in circulating market cap last cycle. And even today, those both sit anywhere between like a $600 to $800 million market cap circulating. And Seed World is sitting at a $10 million market cap. Now they're already up, quite high. I think they launched and they were around like a $6 to $7 million market cap, and now they're at a $10 million. Now again, same thesis. This could stay at these levels. It could go up. It can go down. It's a new launch, but I do think that they do have success here. I mean, I want to say about a fourth, maybe a tenth. A huge chunk of their supply is already staked, and the lockup times I think are like 180 days. So, it's not like anything like a couple days or a couple weeks or months. I mean, a huge chunk of the supply immediately got locked up for quite some time. So obviously that's quite bullish. They do have a lot of the utility for their token planned ahead. They have a lot going on, especially if you are staking, you already know, and that's another video to make too as well. But either way, Seed World, if you're looking for new world launches that have already TGE'd and that I'm quite bullish on, Seed World is definitely one of them. I think, especially when, again, we compare it to its competitors in the space, I think Seed World is definitely undervalued in my opinion. Now, moving on, Myria, again, this is one of those ones that, it's controversial in the comments sometimes. I get why some people are a little hesitant on Myria because, again, it's been so long. I feel like we should have more product out by now. But I do think they still have a lot of hype. They do have a place in the gaming sector. And when we look across, kind of like Gala Games alternatives for this cycle, I'm going to keep saying it. I do think that I do think that Myria is going to have the potential to have a Gala Games like run this cycle with everything they have building, with all the games, all the obviously the bigger influencer coverage, stuff like Alex Becker, just to name one, that covers Myria, whether they pay it or not. I do think Myria, again, does show strength whenever the market does turn around, as we are seeing on the 1 day. It's up 6.5% along with Bitcoin. That's right now. It was up higher. It was probably 10%, at the peak earlier today, maybe closer. So either way, guys, I think that Myria definitely has a lot of potential for later on in the cycle. So I just wanted to touch on it real fast. Now we get into kind of the degen stuff, and I'm picking degen stuff on kind of Avalanche because, again, circling back at the beginning of the video, Avalanche to me is undervalued, and I think it's going to be a strong performer if you're looking for more of a top higher cap coin on the list, especially with the catalyst of off the grid, with the guns token, all the transactions going on in the back end with off the grid. Again, that's just one major game on Avalanche, and they have several of them. And you even have stuff like Beam attributing to the success of Avalanche as well. So when we look across stuff like that on the Avalanche network, I do think Playable Games still is the top gaming ecosystem on Avalanche. They have their nodes, they have all the different games, they have their Nexus game, which has been live for, I think over around a year now. It's kind of like a third-person shooter. It's a fun game. They have all their other games coming out as well, like Ordinum. They have a trading card game, Starving Martian, like a base resource manager game. I think they're working on a metaverse as well, like Dogs of War. and their team's always active. They keep constant updates, on their Twitter. They keep updating quite well, and I think that, along with a lot of projects in the space, they're gonna, continue their marketing, at the right time. And I think if you're looking for a lower market cap play on Avalanche, I still like playable games. I still hold my playable games. Obviously, we got into this extremely early. You can find the videos on the channel, and we wrote it up quite nicely. It was like a 10x for us, so that was nice. But it was another one that we saw immediately kind of bleed out, as the markets turned around towards, quarter 2 of 2024. But really, throughout over the summer, playable games stayed around these levels. It's definitely one that, has kind of just been, since the summer started, has been hovering around the $6 million market cap. So, when we look at it chart-wise, I think playable games has potentially bottomed out for quite some time now. It's just consolidating. So I think whenever gaming does turn around, especially when the Avalanche, ecosystem, warms up and heats up, because I think it will, again, with that big catalyst of off the grid, I do think stuff on Avalanche, you're going to see them start to move. We have other videos on the channel covering, obviously, other altcoins in the Avalanche sector that, if you want to ride the potential gains leading up and even post launch for the Guns token with off the grid, there's videos for that for you if you're interested. But I'm so bullish on playable games. Now, I always like to include kind of a micro cap, like a degen play in these videos. So one for me would be MetaDOS. I've told you guys in the past that I think MetaDOS has always been a good one to keep your eye on for a potential complete degenerate trade, around that launch of off the grid. Because when we're looking at, degen plays, especially if you're looking for, I love saying this, like almost like a JCPenney knockoff of off the grid. I think it's MetaDOS. 100%. If I can get the website to load correctly, it's MetaDOS. It always has been to me. I think MetaDOS, again, and they're actually working on the game. I get some comments in the questions below that MetaDOS looks terrible. Well, it did at one point. Admittedly, hopefully they're not watching, or they are. I don't care. It's true. But yes, the game at one point didn't look the best. But again, when we're looking at kind of other similar games that remind me of off the grid, you have a Battle Royale, you have Avalanche, and you have similar kind of play styles, third person. This is 100%, again, a JCPenney knockoff of, and no hate on JCPenney, really, but it's a knockoff of off the grid. So we've seen it before where something launches, like off the grid, if they launch at a super high evaluation, people are going to go hunting for a lower market cap play because they feel like they missed, the big launch and the gains of off the grid. So you're going to go look for something like a MetaDOS. And obviously, again, not financial advice. This is a complete degenerate pick. I don't know how more clear to make that. But you can see that they are working on it. They are visually improving the game. They're putting out constant updates. It is a DOS team. They also have their DOS chain that a lot of people don't realize it's a subnet on Avalanche with DOS Labs. So, again, they have quite a few things working for them. And we look at their chart. They were a new TGE with terrible dilution, and I told you guys in the video we made on them when they launched, the dilution was terrible. I think it's constant linear investing. Every day they have unlocks. I think it's like 0.0, it's like 0.01 or 0.1% of the supply every day, I want to say, something like that. So a lot of investing has occurred throughout, the summer that they, after they launched. So now, it is kind of like I think it's like a 3x dilution between now and the end of 2025. So it's gotten a little bit more manageable. At one point, it was like a 10x in dilution, so it has gotten a little bit more manageable. And when we look over the 1 month, there has been some activity to MetaDOS. I definitely think that it's not, forgotten about. It's definitely not a dead project. It is just, again, a $1 million market cap. That's kind of the volatility you take on with something like this. Now, obviously, this thing is up like 23%. It was up over 35% at one point today, so I'm not telling you guys at all to get into this. One, based on the pump, and also, we're just not in a gaming season right now. Again, this is more how I view it and what I probably will be viewing it as personally, as, again, a degenerate play around the launch or leading up to the launch of Off the Grid with the Guns token, because if anyone goes looking for a lower market cap alternative on Avalanche to Off the Grid, in my opinion, yes, there's stuff like Shrapnel and Bloodloop, but again, those are not so much battle royales. There are third-person shooters and first-person as well. But if you're looking for an exact knockoff kind of clone to Off the Grid, MetaDOS. That is my thesis. It has always been my thesis, and that's how I'm going to play it. And we'll see how that works out. But if you have other better alternatives, then let me know. Again, similar play style and genre to Off the Grid and on Avalanche. That's why, Metados to me is one to at least put on your watch list and just watch it. We definitely have room to fall again, beneath that 1 million in circulating market cap. And the dilution has become manageable now, at least compared to where they, when they launched. It was honestly quite horrific, but it is more manageable now. But either way, guys, that's kind of like that low degen play I like to always kind of throw out for you guys in some of these longer videos, because I know everyone's always asking for them. And I think Metados could be a decent one, again, around the Guns launch, or the Guns token launch for Off the Grid. Now, a couple other things that is coming up here. I told you guys that there was going to be a lower market cap altcoin launching today. Again, a whole other video is going to be coming out on this as well. So it is Meta Exceed Games, one that we've covered several times already on the channel, but it is coming in market by the time you guys watch this video today. Again, this was recorded last night. So hopefully by the time you guys are watching it, it is launched, and I'll keep you updated on another video. But we do see it. It says it's going to be launching on Get.io, Mexi, and Trader Joe, because it is on Avalanche as well. So another ecosystem on Avalanche. And it's launching at a sub $500,000 circulating market cap. Now, one thing to note is that it does have severe dilution. 100% there is insane dilution here with this project. I pointed it out in the other video I made about tokens coming to market soon. I pointed it out that the dilution here is quite insane. If I can find it here, they brought it up on one of their tweets here. But they do say it's a 10-year vesting schedule. Now, we've seen that before on stuff like, GFAL, but they also, again, they had monthly dilution, and that kind of hurt them a little bit. But yeah, if we bring it up here, so it's a sub $500,000 circulating market cap, which is 1.3% of the total supply, with an FDV of 32 million. They do say it's a 10-year vesting schedule, but this is something that we're going to be taking a look at in that video after it launches, if they do put out the vesting on the project, because that is going to determine everything, I think, for Meta Exceed with their XC token. Now, as far as a platform, bullish, in my opinion. They have a bunch of games coming to their platform. They have 30 plus playable games. It's an L1 built on Avalanche. So again, another gaming hub contributing to the success, especially in the gaming side of things for Avalanche. And their tokens used across all their 30 plus games. So they have a lot going for them. Definitely do. It's kind of like that Myria Gala Games kind of vibe, except on Avalanche. Maybe a competitor to the playable games. They've already done their node sale earlier in the year. So they've already kind of generated a lot of revenue that way. So we'll see. It's interesting, but I do think that the dilution is definitely something to keep note of. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that, if this is one that's on your radar. And if not, do a little bit of research into it. Again, we have several videos covering Meta Exceed Games on the channel. You can find them here. But either way, guys, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, especially when we circle back to Bitcoin. Again, I'm going to keep you guys updated, but I do think leading into the election, on November 5th, I think that we definitely see, some definite moves to the upside for Bitcoin and the overall market. But I still think that this is not anything we're going to be seeing, especially when we compare it to the potential top of the cycle. I think we will start to see altcoins move a little bit slowly behind Bitcoin, especially if we do push for that 80K mark on Bitcoin, maybe by the end of next week. Again, and that could not happen either, but with going into an election, especially if one side does win, then I do think that does leave a lot of room on the table for Bitcoin to kind of get, a lot of aggressive move to the upside. But either way, just realize we're so early in this cycle. I mean, I've said it for years now. I've been letting you guys know, especially all year, we are still early. Now, obviously, as more time goes on, you're not going to be as early, obviously. Was it better to buy a year ago? Yeah, probably. Was it better to buy a month ago, 2 months ago? Yeah. I mean, probably, yeah. We try to tell you guys that on the channel, but either way, I get comments all the time. Just want to rant here for a second. I get comments all the time from you guys, wondering, is this going to be the top? Quarter 4, is that it? Is it bear market, quarter 1 of 2025? In my opinion, again, I don't know anything. I don't have a crystal ball. I say it all the time. None of your influencers or people on YouTube online, nobody knows. Just realize that. So take this for a grain of salt for a second. Just bear with me. Again, I just want to rant here for a couple, a little bit here at the end of the video. But I do think that Bitcoin is not going to top this year. I do think we do see a top in 2025. Now, when? I don't know. It could be quarter one. It could be quarter four. I don't know. Nobody does. But just going off the 4-year cycle, I do think we could expect it a little bit for altcoins and altcoin top a little bit later in the year, 2025, on the later half of it. That's just my estimate. That's my educated guess, but my guess is really as good as anyone else's online. So, again, take that for what it is. We've been here since the last cycle, all bear market. We were accumulating, and that paid off for us. So, obviously, we did some stuff right, but like everyone else, obviously, we also probably made mistakes as well. So, either way, guys, that's my opinion, but I do think we're still early. So please don't think you missed out on this cycle. You definitely have not. There's definitely a lot of room ahead of us, especially when we look at the hottest, the hot narratives, stuff like AI, gaming, RWA, DPIN. We haven't even seen these, individual sectors go on a full-blown altcoin season, parabolic move. Yes, we've seen each of them run at their own respective times, but if you were here in the last cycle, comment below. I'm curious how many of you guys that watch these videos were here in the last cycle, maybe the cycle before that. Let me know if this is your first cycle or not. Obviously, you guys know my history. But either way, if you were here, then you understand that things are going to get extremely crazy, and you're going to see pure euphoria. Euphoria. People are going to be insane. They're going to be posting how much money they made on the timeline, on Twitter, everywhere, all over the place. And we'll keep you guys updated, letting you know best I can what I'm doing at the current time, where I think things are going. And if you guys get value out of that kind of stuff, again, subscribe to the channel. I try to keep you guys updated, best I can on what's going on. We primarily cover the gaming sector, but obviously we cover AI, RWA, and other sectors as well. Memes, I can't bring myself to necessarily do it on this channel just because memes are tough to study here. Again, it's kind of that rant still. But memes are tough. There's not a whole lot of analysis you can really make on memes. I've given you guys my opinion throughout, a couple of different videos on what memes I would be looking at. Personally, they're all on the, upper side of market cap-wise. If you're interested in that, either ask me in the Discord linked below or comment them. Again, I try to answer all you guys' comments. And either way, guys, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Let me know, where do you think we're going here in the short term? Where do you think we're going here as an overall cycle? And as always, if you guys got value out of today's video, if you guys can like the video, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share the video, and I will catch you guys later. Alrighty, see ya.